All right, ladies and gentlemen, for today's lineup, in the match between Iloilo Team Kaya and Digger of Manila. We have number 1, Beru Isafi Walid. Number 16, Bata Nathan Asher. Number 40, Dato Patrick Philip. Number 3, Saito Akito. Number 4, Muens Kevin. Number 6, Swainston Mark Francis. All right, ladies and gentlemen, for our team lineups for today, Kaya FC Iloilo. Number 3, Saito Akito. Number 8, Angeles Marwin Janver. Number 9, Barfo Ernest. Number 12, Diano Mar Vincent. Number 13, Milieza Jesus Joaquin. Number 14, Kumaki Shuto. Number 23, Rota Simone. Number 25, Eso Eric. Number 44, Menzi Odi. Number 88, Yamazaki Kaishu. Number 98, Cortez Alfredo. And the substitutes are number 16, Bata Nathan Asher. Number 4, Muens Gavin. Number 15, Casambre Marco Alessandro. Number 22, Arboleda Fitch Johnson Davis. Number 33, Romero Julian. Number 39, Lucas Pocholo. Number 77, number Ray Jerry Martini. Headed by their head coach, Yu Ushidi of Japan, and team manager, Mr. Camelo Takusami. For the Manila Diggers, number 1, Asong Michael. Number 5, Job Mudu. Number 8, Ugo Etenil Elias. Number 11, Sisei Saikuba. Number 15, Guy Postman. Number 17, Jarvis Jordan Blair. Number 20, Ibarle Dean. Number 23, Nishiyuka Kenji. Number 24, Taninko Zachary. Number 29, Tilongko Shirmar. Number 30, Ebeni Duta. Okay, once again for the substitutes of Manila Diggers. Number 21, Gasik Nelson. Number 2, Barsanilia John Mar. Number 4, Wamba Tapin Gilling. Number 6, Ashley Daniel. Number 7, Flores Jim Ashley. Number 10, Dos Santos Pinto Abner. Number 13, Giganto Eric Ben. Number 14, Miyagi Kentaro. Number 16, Cristal Jimson. Number 44, Kami Hayato. Number 57, Debrecher Dylan. And number 77, Diao Su. Headed by Kim Christian Versales as their head coach and team manager, Monica Gador. And our referees for this match, our head referee is Mr. Clifford Daipuyat Zandipa. Assistant referee number 1, Giovanni Lachica of NOPA. Assistant referee number 2, Merlo Albano of DRFA. Fourth official, Linjon Talaber of NOPA. Referee assessor, we have Mr. Dennis Estaniel of NOPA. And match commissioner, Joseph Ensaya. Alright, this is to inform everyone that this match is under the supervision and regulation of the Games and Amusement Boards.
To all, it is Philippines Football League action right here at the Iloilo Sports Complex. We've got Kaya FC and Manila Digger squaring off. This is Claro Manzano, and we'll be joined by Dennis Lucindo in a bit. And this
Hello,
is it.
Clara. It's great to be here with you this afternoon. It's a fantastic match we have on tap.
It's the type of game you dream of playing in as a kid, Dennis, and because this is the potential decider, not the finals, not a final game, right? Because Kaya and Digger still have their respective assignments after this one, but with this one, they could just keep their opponent stagnant or whatever points tally they may have. We'll get into detail later. And then you'll get 3 points, which is just enough to leapfrog the other. But in the case of Kaya, that will be enough to get a buffer. So it's pretty much grab the win here. Simple as this, if we want to, of course, not overcomplicate things.
Well, there are several scenarios that we'll get to when the league table comes out on screen because it's a very tight race at the top. It's a very tight race for the three teams trailing these top two. So we'll get to that in a bit.
And and speaking of the league table, it's Kaya FC with 40 points and Manila Digger right behind at 39. And that's why we mentioned whoever wins here, that will be enough to take the lead. But for Kaya, if they win it today, and they're pretty much going to clinch the title despite of them having one more game to spare next week, as we see
So
right here.
here we have Kaya FC. So everybody now at this point of the league is at 16 matches played. Because of Kaya's win last Wednesday against Loyola Victorias FC, they've overtaken Manila Digger, who didn't have any action going for them in midweek. Kaya now is at the top at 40 points. And if they win today, they will go to 43. And the best that Manila Digger can hope for is 42 points. But we'll get to the rest, Claro, after this march in protocol at the Iloilo Sports Center. So we're coming to you live from the Iloilo Sports Center. It's Saturday, April 5th, the second
Ladies
to
and
the last
gentlemen,
game,
boys and girls and
the
fans from
double
around
round
the
robin.
world, the moment we've all been waiting for. Let us welcome the teams Kaya FC Iloilo and Manila Diggers FC.
It's just that finals like vibe right here in Iloilo, given the implications as we have our team captains, both local players. There's Ori Menzi for Kaya and Dini Barle for Manila Digger, who are in red. Kaya will be in yellow and white. We'll also get with the starting lineups in a bit, along with our match officials. But these two teams, Dennis, have a similar form or the same form heading into this game because in
So, just getting to the starting lineups before we kick off. Kaya FC starting with Freddy Cortez in the back as goalkeeper. In front of him, in front of him, anchoring the defense, of course, is the veteran Simone Rota, and together with him, making up that back four are Odi Menzi, Shuto Komaki, Barfo, Akito Saito, Mardiano, Jan Melissa. Kaishu Yamazaki is back in the six. And Freddy Cortez, as we kick off, we've lost our play-by-play, Claro Manzano, for the moment.
I'm okay. I'm back already.
Okay, there you go. Take it away,
So
Claro.
it's the usual 4-1-4-1 for Coach Yu Hoshide. And with Manila Digger, it's the 4-3-3. It's the usual also for the back four of Digger with Modo Juve, Jordan Jarvis, Ziggy Tanico, and Dean Ebarle. Noifil Lonko is playing the six for them. Usman Guy and Elias Ogu, the attacking mids. Kevin Ebenemokata and Kenji Nishoka on the wings, and then Seiko Sisei up front. As Digger getting forward now to stop by the team effort of Kaya for the moment. I spoke too soon. Guy got a whistle to go their way. You can argue it's a strong start because of that.
So the notable absence for Manila Digger is Modu Mane, who is on a red card from the last weekend. And a lot of discussion has happened, Claro, about that particular red card, which we're not going to get into today. We're going to stay present in this game, but so far in the opening seconds, their attack has not been wanting.
If you look the other way with Kaya, they're missing Konate Bandiogo and Joven Bedic due to suspension also.
Yes, and they're missing Lucas Del Rosario. I think probably due to injury. He looks to have picked up a knock in their Wednesday match.
As it's sent in by Nishoka. Well, it was just stopped by the defense. Corner kick, according to our referee Clifford Daipuyat. And don't sleep on
Yes,
Kenji
so
Nishoka because he just racked up 2 assists in that win of Digger versus Stallion.
yes, Digger has a very dynamic attack. They are very compact in defense. They keep their shape very well, but they're also quite lethal on the counter, as we saw in their last encounter against Stallion Laguna.
And Digger were down to 10 players, but it didn't seem like it, of course, with the result and the way they played, as it will now swing back the way of the defending champions who are gunning for a three-peat.
And although Kaya FC Iloilo is playing at home, I consider them at a bit of a disadvantage this match because within 7 days, this is their third game in 7 days, whereas Digger is rested, having played last Saturday.
This is the only natural or the only venue with a natural grass surface. Well, of course, that's something all the players like. But from what I've noticed in the games here, Dennis, it seems the ground is a little hard, so it'll be a little bit of a challenge for the players to handle the ball.
The ground is very hard. It looks quite dry in spots, but the Iloilo Sports Complex personnel as well as Kaya support team have done a great job just patching things, patching damaged areas on the pitch. But where we are in the calendar, Clara, we're a week away from Holy Week. And as many Filipinos know, towards Holy Week is usually the peak of summer.
As much as we say the ground is hard, it is a playable surface. So what you said, credit to Kaya's staff and people of Iloilo for sorting this one out.
Yes, very much so. I mean, our boss Ariel Cervantes is very much a veteran of preparing different pitches to be ready both for local and international competition.
He was putting in the extra work when Kaya had to play their Shopee Cup game versus Lion City Sailors in Binyan, overseeing things with the turf also.
Whether kung kahit ba nasa Binyan or nasa Rizal Memorial, nakikita natin yan si Ariel na dumadampot ng walis at nagwawalis ng rubber pellets.
Very hands-on, of course. Shout out to Sir Ariel. Yes, now Kaya trying to come up with something on the left behind Jan Meliza. Not too many goals, but when he scores, it's important.
Yes, and as a team, I mean, we see that in the goal difference numbers, which is why getting to the importance of this game, we did say that if Kaya wins it today, then they would have won the league. As people may know, it's been announced before that there are several stages of this competition. We are now in the second to the last match day of the league format. Then we break for Holy Week and then go into the semifinals and finals matches. The semifinals, of course, will be played by the top four teams. So these two teams featured today are sure to be there, but the cast to close it out is still up in the air. That's what happens if Kaya wins. Kaya comes out first and Manila Digger second. But if Digger wins today or draws, claro, that's a different mess.
As it was stopped by the D of Digger. And then Neufilonco playing it long. Simone Rota has to handle this cautiously with Freddy Cortez. And that is the case because Seiko Sise wanted to make life difficult for them. But with the number one or finishing number one here in the league or as champion, they will get the right to play in the group stage of the ACL2. And if you go number two, it's a far cry because that's just a qualifying playoff.
Yes, well, finishing top of the league assures them of a spot into the AFF Shopee Cup. Of course, with the endorsement of the federation. And now, if when we go into the postseason, the top two finishers there, the top finisher takes an outright qualification into the Champions League 2, and the second placer gets a Champions League 2 playoff spot. And there's a whole different dynamic to that CL2 playoff spot that I'll get into later, Claro. But what happens, Claro, if Digger draws or wins?
So if Digger does get a win, or they do get a win, we will go to the last match day. So in that situation, Kaya will have to play Stallion, a rival of theirs, and then Digger will have to play Loyola. Those games are tentatively set on Sunday. That's pretty
Yes.
much the last match day in the regular season. So of course,
It
the show goes on. Wala pa tayong champion if Digger win today.
wala pa. And well, the retooled, rejuvenated Loyola side is no pushover. I mean, they came out of Iloilo only losing 1-0. Stallion, of course, still battling for that third or fourth spot to make it to the semifinals. So it's not going to be a walkover for Kaya if they have to go back to Manila to get a result. Um, so this is I think the tightest that the league has been ever. I mean, I was talking yesterday to competitions committee staffer Robin Kainglet, and he can't remember the last time it went down to the second to the last or the last game day.
In the 22-23 season saw us go to the second to the last. The last day became non-bearing because Stallion spoiled Cebu's bid for the title with another picking up a result in Talisay.
No, the other tight league, but I'm not sure when it was decided, was when Loyola came out on top in 2017 and Ceros was just a point behind.
I believe so also when it comes to points on the table. As this was off the head of Shuto Komaki, he did not play in that last game of theirs versus Loyola. So it could be a bit of that advantage where the end of the season players may have some knocks, as we've said, or knocks. But they did get to rest him, and Kaya, of course, with that deep bench.
Well, Kaya has always had a deep, but more than being deep, they're a very professional lineup from the first man to the last. They are the one team that I've seen who's never lost their composure.
Komaki driving traffic now, trying to play it. Dini Barde appears to get beaten by Barfo, though. Well, he cut it back. That's the case,
Barfa
but no
there,
Filonco.
Barfa there with a bit of the Haaland bump coming across the defender and putting the defender on his back.
Then it's a foul here against Eric Esso. And he is booked. Not the ideal start, of course, to rack up a card, as we are about 11 minutes into this game.
So referee Clifford Daypuyat showing that he's not going to take any amount of rough play from the players today. That looked to have been Esso's pretty much his Esso's first contact with an opponent.
As we know, Clifford Daipuyat is also an international referee.
Yes, one of the few international referees we have remaining. There have been a number over the past years, but their numbers look to need reinforcement these days.
Because Clifford Daipuyat is assisted by Merlo Albano and Giovanni Lachica. And then his fourth official, Linjun Talaver, is someone with international experience also.
Hmm.
And with us saying Linjun Talaver is an international referee, so he'd also be the main man at times. As it was sent forward, Juve trying to get it. Gets into that collision. Juve appearing to be in pain.
But
But
from
it's
where we sit, it looks to be a clean tackle that has led to a counter that's now thwarted and Digger back in possession.
Taninko trying to play it. And Simone Rota just clears it out for safety. Throw in off the boot of Ori Menzi. So let's look at the foremost of our teams and how they've been performing as of late. At first, it was played forward to no avail. Noifelonco long but definitely out. So Kaya did defeat Cebu 2-1 and then fell to Manila Digger, where Modo Mane also scored, but he's missing today. And there, Kaya went on to defeat Minjola, Wantagig, and Loyola. So that's 4 wins and a loss in the last 5 games. The same card for Manila Digger. They did defeat the youth national team, then fell to Maharlika in an upset result. Defeated Kaya and Davao with identical 1-0 score lines, and then 3-0 over Stallion Laguna. Hence, that is why we have this situation in the table that we mentioned earlier.
Well, if Kaya does go on to win this game and win the league, they have the formerly lowly Maharlika FC to thank for that, because that win by Maharlika over Manila Digger allowed Kaya to overtake Digger in the standings.
As this shot was taken, but wide of the near post. This is what we mentioned, where every point counts, every game counts, every goal counts.
Well,
Speaking of,
we haven't even talked about the scenario for teams 3, 4, and 5.
oh yeah, that was quite a treat to, not a treat and a challenge to break down when I was covering that Cebu game versus Stallion Laguna, because that's a race on its own that's also been electric.
Yes, you know, all three teams. I think. But let me pull up that graphic. But those right now, one Taguig is at third. Stallion Laguna has overtaken Cebu for the fourth spot, and in fifth is now Cebu, who will see action tomorrow in what is the back second of a back to back against Stallion.
As this was lost by Saito, Seiko trying to challenge Cortez, but over and out. We'll even say then is Davao Aguilas do have a mathematical chance, but it's very difficult because their goal difference is not ideal. But we still include them, of course, for mathematical reasons. So we can argue it's four teams competing for two spots in the tail end of the final series.
Yes. Well,
But of
yes,
course,
mathematically four, but realistically, let's keep the attention on those three teams who are tied on points and separated really only by goal difference. I mean, there was even a scenario I remember, Clara, when we were talking about it. There's a scenario that we might have needed to go to absolute goals scored to
yes.
decide who's fourth.
Actually, right now, the reason why Wanta Gig sits in number three is because of, no, not goals scored. Sorry, check that. It's Stallion edging Cebu on goals scored because they are tied on goal difference. But
Hmm.
it is very unlikely that Kaya and Digger will get any ties with points here and there. But in terms of goal difference, Manila Digger actually superior. They've only conceded 9 goals in 16 games. That's quite a feat.
That's one part of it. The other part is among all the teams playing this season, Digger has shown to be quite the goal scoring machine.
Speaking of goal scoring machines, Kevin Ibene Mukata and cleared off by Rota tentatively. Akito Saito cleared it off, but it was a foul already to go their way. Let's recall Kevin Ibene Mukata. There's a game where he did score 4 goals. That was against the youth national team. But I think Seiko, or by the record, Seiko Sise has the highest scoring output of any player with a double hat trick at 6. He's the man playing up front here for Manila Digger, the guy to look out for because they're similar to Kaya also. They're that well-oiled machine, very strong pieces here and there. Try to shut down one, the other guy will just be able to break free and possibly score. There's actually, well, the top two scorers in the league actually are Seiko Sise and Modo Mane. Joint number three, there's Shuto Komaki of Kaya. Never sleep on him, of course, as this shot was driven low by Barfo and saved by Mike Kasong. Kasong will just put this one down on the ground. But in terms of playmakers too, inside the top three or ranked in the top three, there's Modo Mane, Eric Giganto, and Osman Guy in joint third place with 5 assists so far this season. And then Ziggy Tarinko is still at 6. He hasn't assisted as of late, but he's still number one in the league, tied with Shuto Komaki of Kaya right here. Speaking of Shuto Komaki, cleared out by Juf, Nishoka. His compatriot Yamazaki almost got it. Elias Ogu. Elias Ogu, the man replacing Moto Mane in the starting 11. Seberi Mokata played it through. Nakito Saito says no. Difficult there as Yamazaki tried to play it back. Odi Menzi to chase. Stopped by the back line. Noy Filonco drifting inside now. Wide again, but plenty of shots for Digger, but off target. But I'd like to think they're the team who's been able to get more quality or more chances here on shots, but they aren't on target. Saito will assess. So Saito was subbed off actually versus Loyola from what appeared to be an injury. They could clinch it today. So perhaps if you're Kai, you're taking those risks too to finish your or to clinch the title already. For Digger, they have no choice but to go all out because bel- they need to seal the result not just today but also next week.
Well, I think Kaya will be going all out as well. They want to keep their fate in their own hands. To be honest, of course, we know that Stallion is the tougher opponent than Loyola. So they're playing today as if today is the championship, and they should be. Because if it goes to next Sunday, honestly, I would favor Digger to take the championship if it goes to the last playing day.
And that will depend, of course, first on what will happen here. As it's with Jarvis, Taninko, just delayed by Jan Meliza. So to clarify for the people, right, Dennis? So the league title is separate from the final series. The final
Yes,
series is a separate trophy on its own.
well, the league title, they will get their medals, their trophy. That the league is where we pick the Golden Boot, the MVP, and the top goalkeeper. The final series, well, what's at stake there are those tickets to the AFC Champions League 2.
Not the Shopee Cup for final series.
No, it's Champions League 2 with two slots, and Shopee Cup only has one outright slot.
I see. Okay.
So Champions League 2, we get one outright slot and one playoff slot. And what's happened over the past few years is that there are six teams that are admitted into the Champions League 2 qualifying series, and
Yes.
one of those teams, and five slots out of six qualifiers. But in the past few years, that sixth slot has gone to a North Korean club. And more often than not, because of the difficulties, I would guess, of traveling as a North Korean team,
Of course.
they withdraw from the qualifiers. So the five of the six qualifiers end up having outright slots.
So is there an extra slot here for PFL teams now?
Yes, it's Champions League 2, right? Remember last season
Yes.
we had Cebu and Kaya playing in Champions League 2, and in Shopee Cup it's Kaya that was playing in
Yes.
the AFF Shopee Cup.
But back to the action. Mike Asong will put this ball back in play as we are 23 minutes into this game already. Seems both teams still need to get up to speed when it comes to attack. It's that battle in the midfield. Shuto,
And
Simone
apologies
Rota.
that I mentioned that Kaya scored one goal against Loyola last Wednesday, because it's actually, I believe it's two goals, because Martini Ray was one of the goal scorers, right?
Oh, that was in the game versus One Tagig.
Oh yes, that's right. So I mentioned Martini Ray because he is one of the truly local boys to Iloilo, together with
Yes.
Sherwin Basindanan. With Digger, I am not sure who is Ilonggo.
As there's the header, and you have the goal right there. It's 1
Yes, that
0.
crossed the line. That got behind Mike Asong, and that looks to be Barfo, or number 4.
Well, you could feel it there. There's definitely that extra anticipation. They'll get to celebrate their title early if they bag the win today. And let's remember, Manila Digger did defeat Kaya in their first encounter in this season, which is just last March 12th. I'm saying don't count them out, of course. Kaya want to avenge that result. And Digger want to carry on their winning ways, especially with the way they've been playing. They've been able to
Yeah.
grind out results. They've been able to flex their muscles, their offensive prowess.
Sorry, I misread the font on the back of that Kaya jersey. It is number 9. Indeed,
Ernest
Ernest
Barfo.
Barfo with that header that crept behind Mike Asong. So live standings, Claro, what's it looking like?
And Kaya will seal the title at this rate if they, as long as they win this game. But we said again for Digger, if they get to win, they will keep their title hopes alive as there's a collision in the pitch.
Yes, but we're still early days or early minutes in this game. Scored in the 25th minute.
Oh, and we have a red card. We did see the red given out to our Kaya player in the ground as opposed to our Digger player who's on the other side. And it just happened so quickly. Just when we were crunching the standings, assessing our results. I believe referee Clifford Daipuya has made this a cooling break already. But we saw red, Dennis.
Um, well, I'm a bit colorblind, Claro, but if you say it's red, it must be red. And let's wait for the confirmation from our match commissioner.
But this is not a good sight, of course, to see players down, regardless of team. We do not want any players to get hurt in this game, but we need the stretcher already here. These things can happen in intense games. Players just giving their all, giving that extra to simply win any duels for possession. And these things happen. It's not that we want these things to happen or these incidents to happen, but there's also the risk. After all, football obviously a contact sport. I believe this is Juve also checking on the
With
down player
Digger,
of
I am
Kaya.
not sure who is Ilongo. Okay, here we see a replay of
As there's the
that
header,
sequence. That's the
and you have the
replay of
goal.
the header.
It's
Yes, that
1-0.
crossed the line. If we could go to the replay of the contact of these two players.
We are 28 minutes into this game already. A third into this contest. And if we could just confirm that red we saw flashed at the Kaya player down, and that will just alter the course of this one. Our referee's having a chat. But obviously, if it becomes, or if Kaya get trimmed to 10 men, Digger will look to seize or grab that initiative by the horns.
So yes, we're just waiting for our Iloilo crew to load that replay of the contact because I'm not quite sure what happened.
Here we go. There's Usman guy going down the center. And as it was played to him, and that's Eric Esso from what I saw. Eric Esso coming out from a few meters to try to go for that ball.
But it doesn't look like a lot.
And now play set to resume after that was also turned into a cooling break. Understandable, of course. And similar with Binyan, there'd be cooling breaks in the first game of the day, and in the second game, which would be at night, would be in much cooler conditions. Here's the ball whipped in, almost again. We've acknowledged also earlier that Manila Digger have been trying to bombard already the goal, but a number of attempts off target. Will this be that stroke of luck? It will be a corner for Taninko. Ziggy has plenty of targets to aim for again. Hence, he's one of the top playmakers in the league. But unideal from him. It was low. Simone Rota ducking to ensure they get the clearance. Nishoka. The Diggers trying to switch it up. Benemokata. The low cross. They're bouncing in front of the mouth of the goal. No good. Kaya escaping this.
Well, on this natural pitch, a ball bouncing across the mouth of the goal is scary because you never know which way that ball will bounce.
And also, if an attacking player will just poke that in and look to poach all of a sudden, or if even a defending player will accidentally hit that ball the wrong way. Freddy Cortez gets the distance. Juf put it in the mix. Jan Melisa gave it to Kaishu Yamazaki. Barfo ran out of space. And Dine Barley got to do enough. And they'll take it from deep. And with their magnified role, of course, let's talk about our goalkeepers. And Mike Gasong with 5 clean sheets, despite of him only entering in the recent transfer windows. Jan Melisa again. Asong got
So you,
the save.
so you can see that these bouncing balls are awkward for the goalkeepers. Several instances that Mike Asong has struggled with that type of ball coming towards him.
So it will be a corner now. Kai will try to pounce. Digger will look to do damage control at the least heading into halftime. We are 32. Only 32 minutes into this game. 13 minutes remaining until additional time. Plenty of football without a doubt. Here's the in-swinger. I believe a Kaya player got his head to it. And try to send it forward. Too much bottom of the ball. It's Tigger will try to roll the dice. And am I right, Dennis? You need to attack this with a sense of urgency already because you do not want things to be too little, too late, where you're chasing a goal in the last 10 minutes, or that's the only time where you go all out desperately.
Well, we're still early in the game, and if Kaya is indeed down to 10 men, Digger can show a little patience because a draw still favors them in the big picture, or a win favors them. They also don't want to rush these attacks too much because they could then be left exposed in the back, even against 10 men, as we saw when Digger played Stallion.
And Barley whipped in the cross. The shot from Noy. It came off a man, though.
It came
No
off a
police.
Digger player. And that's what, if there's a handball, it would have been off a Digger player.
and hence that is why it will be a goal kick for Cortez. It's Kaya in yellow and white. They are playing from left to right. And Manila Digger with this uphill task. They are behind the ball, playing from right to left. And Manila Digger in red and black. As Chan Melissa just wanted to slither through.
So
And
Kaya FC Iloilo has been in Iloilo the past week and a half, it seems, and nakakaingit. At least sila may fresh kansi whenever they want. Kansi, of course, that sort of sour bulalo-like dish that Iloilo is known for.
I know Jovin Bedek can cook himself also because he is back in his home province. And we were talking about Martini Ray being from here. There's also
Mm-hmm.
Sherwin Basindan, and those guys are the definition of brothers for life because they worked their way up the football ladder together, starting out as kids in this very province. And Sherwin was the neighbor of Jovin Bidik. They won a title
Mm-hmm.
together last season already. So will it be another one? As this is out from Seiko Cisse, you could see the frustration there from him. And
Because he was onside there. It just a little imprecise control on Cisse's part. Otherwise, he would have just had Freddy Cortez to contend with. And as I was wondering out loud earlier, Claro, sino yung mga Ilonggo naman sa Manila Digger? Because
yes,
I,
you were
I wish
saying.
I had the knowledge of hometowns of our friend and colleague Bob Guerrero, who seems to know where everyone is from.
Yes, that's right. Nishoka. Seiku's calling for it, gets it at his feet, loses his angle, desperate defending from the home
Oh
side.
no! But desperate but beautiful recovery by Simone Rota to be there just as Cisse turned in the right spot to turn away Cisse from taking a shot.
I think it's frustration from the digger camp, right? With the way they handled that one. Possibly some
It is
decision
well
making.
in the past 2 or 3 minutes they've had some chances, but the referee Clifford De Puyat has deemed this to be offside. It was passed back to Cisse after having taken the corner, while the Kaya defense was up a few yards.
That's why it's sent back into play by the keeper. And that goal from Barfo, the lone difference maker. And we can conclude Eric Esso. We haven't seen him on the pitch, so we could presume already that they're down to 10
No,
men. No sub entered.
yes.
We've gotten enough time just to make the conclusion. I say Barley will cross. Here's the header, and just wide again. It's Ziggy Taninko getting into the middle. It's fullback to fullback trying to connect.
Kaya is a team that is very used to playing in adversity, whether it's adversity from being a goal down or adversity from being a man down. This is a team that personifies composure. They're about. I guess, Claro, they are imbibing Coach Yu Hoshide's immovable stance.
Of course, no smiles from Coach Yu Hoshide, whether they win or lose. Just
So
focused on the task.
for those who don't know, that statue there on the left side of the pitch, standing by the touchline, that is Kaya coach Yu Hoshide, who always just stands that way, arms across his chest, looking from left to right. Whatever happens on the pitch, you'll hardly hear him scream, hardly see him protest, and hardly see him celebrate. He only celebrated, like last season, I remember he only celebrated after they won the championship.
Sounds about right. On brand when they
Yeah,
accomplish that
that's
goal of theirs.
that's the perfect description there, Clara, on brand for Coach Yu Hoshide.
It's Nishoka versus Komaki. And Nishoka is livid. Frustrating afternoon so far for the Diggers, as we are 6 minutes away from additional time in the first half. And I am looking up the records here. And it's been a while since Seiko Sisei last scored. It was back in February. So you could also argue that there's the goal drought for him because, yes, he has 16 goals so far in this season. You average it, that's actually a goal per game. But he's only
Hmm.
scored three in the second round. So,
Well,
yes,
the
he's
second
top
round,
of the table, yeah, but it's
the
crunch
second
time.
round has been very different across many teams. I mean, I think the youth national team has gotten a lot stronger when they absorbed a lot of the UAAP standouts that we talk about.
Yes.
Harlika FC did get a lot stronger when they retooled during the last transfer window before January 16. Loyola is rejuvenated and they play a different brand of football now. So the scoring fest that Cisse had in the first round, that's a thing of the past.
Benemokata tried to slide it inside. The turn. The save at the bottom corner.
Fantastic save by Freddy Cortez on his line, sticking out a leg and showing great flexibility and not just reflexes was Freddy Cortez. But in that sequence, Claro, what has been dangerous for Manila Digger are those what I call insertion passes, those passes in between defenders to find somebody in an advanced position.
Nishoka played it to Ziggy. Throw in here. Space for Nishoka. The keeper punched it out. The crowd getting into it. Janmin Liza pushing. He has Shuto Komaki to switch, but that looks tough to execute with Noifilonko on him. A shot then Asong to the rescue. Quick distribution.
But Janja and Melissa still managing to get that shot in frame enough to trouble Mike Asong. Well, Janja and Melissa, and as we call it, his magic left foot.
Will it be a Jan Jan special, as we've acknowledged in a number of games this season, right?
Yes, many of which have come off free kicks. The most
Played
crafty
forward.
one we saw was when he took it from the half in Rizal Memorial against Quincy Camarad and Wantagig FC. That he saw Camarad stepping forward and at that moment aimed the looping ball at the far post.
Nishoka playing it. Diano, a bit tentative. He's trying to let it roll out. And mission accomplished for the former UE Red Warrior.
Well, that's not so much the hesitation on the part of Mardiano, but inviting Cisse to expend some energy to come forward and try to get that ball, which Diano knows what he's going to do. He's going to shield that ball and wait for it to go out.
We are aware,
So
of
we
course,
see,
that Diano is a physical type of player, as you were saying, Dennis.
yes, we see the physios come out to give Freddy Cortez some treatment. He looks to have picked up contact into his midsection in that last punch out of his.
Speaking of Ilonggo players with Manila Digger, it was at the tip of my tongue, but I just wanted to confirm it. Noy Felonco was born in Calinog, Iloilo.
Okay, with a nickname like Noy, I think that is 80% sure that he's Ilonggo.
Yes, I did check online also with his file. If Noy Filonco, as you said, had long tenures with Stallion and with Kaya. He actually played in AFC competitions with Kaya FC back when it was the AFC Cup.
I do think that Noy Filonco is one of the best local defensive mids,
That's
and that's
Asong.
awkward.
That,
Awkward from Asong.
that's why Shuto will use the space to operate. Mamodu Juf clamped him down. As he
Almodo
clamped him
Juve
down,
was, yeah, very quick to close him down with those long legs of his.
it's not often, of course, you see Juf and his crew concede goals. But that was the 10th goal that Manila Digger did concede this season. But they still have the best offense in the league nonetheless. Here's the ball, played long. Rota whipped it back in. Well, Asong just got that. That would have meant disaster if Asong did not get that ball into a 6-yard box. Ebene Mokata.
So there we see 5 minutes of added time held up by the fourth official.
This was off of Rota, a former national team player. The cross. Guy almost, but there you go. But referee Clifford Daipuyat saying no goal right there with his hand signals. That's why Seiko Cisse is livid. As is the case for Usman Guy, of course. Saito doing the explaining to Guy, saying there was a hit because there's a Kaya defender down. It's 10-man Kaya. Let's remember that. It's 10-man Kaya.
Yeah. Well, I still wonder how much contact was given there with the earlier red card. Because on the replay it didn't look to be much.
That's gotta hurt for Manila Digger, who've been knocking on the door constantly. The crowd again. The home crowd cheering on Kaya. And Digger, the visitors, a tough trip so far. Cortez will resume. We are in additional time, as mentioned already. Questions that need answering for Manila Digger. And then Mukata. You gotta applaud the agility with that frame of his.
He is a player who is sneaky fast. I mean, he's built like one of those shorter running backs we see in American football, with a broad chest, broad shoulders, legs that aren't that long, but these are legs that just keep on pumping.
That's why I've had to duplicate what I say for Robert Lopez Mendy when we talk about Kevin Ibene Mokata. A bulldozer with a sports car engine.
Well, that's a very good player to compare Kevin to, physically and the way they play. I would even think that Kevin is more agile than the one Tagig striker. Or
Robert
sorry, yeah, sorry, the Davao
Davao.
striker, formerly of Kaya.
As it was played, Kaya's numbers doing the work. I like to think Ibene Mokata is bigger than Lopez Mendy, but Lopez Mendy, as we know, not in his prime already. But
No,
back
but
to the
Lopez
action.
Lopez Mendy is taller than Mbene Mokata.
That's right.
Taller, actually bigger. Kevin just Kevin just looks meaner, and I say that with a lot of love for the player I call Muhammad Farah Aidid.
Is that another moniker in the bag here for your PFL players? Jarvis. There's the press. But let's recall Kaya's players will have to work double time. So there is the possibility of them flaming out in the last 20 to 10 minutes of the game later on.
Oh,
Barfo slid it to Shuto Komaki. No numbers. They are playing safe for obvious reasons. They'll try to make do with what they have. Shuto was calling for a run. Barfo went for it. Nishoka the stop. Juf gave it to the other
Bar-
side.
Barfo exhibiting craftiness that I didn't give him credit for when he first came onto the PFL scene. And that
Here they come now. Guy! Top corner, top bins. Sensational. Game on. And let's recall, if it at least stays, or if it stays at a draw, we'll go to the last match day. But the crowd voicing their displeasure. Plenty of space here to celebrate, Dennis.
There is. Well, there's displeasure in that crowd noise, but there's also cheers because Digger is the team that we've seen over the past few games that travels with a pack of fans.
And we are aware, of course, the energy of the 12th man from them. And
And
here
that,
they come now. Guy! Top corner, top bins.
so if we could extend that replay to the first pass from the cutback, the passer there's a chance he might have been offside.
And this is still the replay, as we'll cut back into live pictures. And it's confirmed it goes to Usman Guy. And Guy just bagged his 9th goal of the season thanks to that.
So okay, it looks to be that the referee has blown for the half. Take us into the break, Claro.
And there was the opener again. From what we saw was Ernest Barfo. And Usman Guy just canceled that goal out before the halftime break. Well, let's recall we saw red flashed earlier from a player appears to be Eric Esso. But we will head over to our halftime break where we have these pictures to keep you company for the meantime.
All right, all fans, you may use the hashtags PFL 2024-25 and hashtag PFL on the rise. Also hashtag support local football. The passion, the power, the Philippines Football League on the rise. Also, we would like to encourage everyone to please visit the Philippine Football League Facebook page and the official PFL website. That's pfl.org.ph for more details on the Philippines Football League. The passion, the power, the Philippines Football League on the rise. And for all the fans, you may use the hashtag PFL 2024-25, hashtag PFL on the rise, and hashtag support local football. again, we would like to encourage everyone to please visit the Philippines Football League Facebook page and the official. Use the hashtag PFL 2024-25, hashtag PFL on the rise, and hashtag support local football. The passion, the power, the Philippines Football League on the rise.
Back here at the Iloilo Sports Complex, and is this is the or this is highly likely to be the potential title decider between KFC Iloilo in yellow and white and Manila Digger, the visitors, in red and black. So glad you could join us again on matchday.ph. This is Caro Manzano alongside Dennis Lucindo and
Hello, Claro,
Manila
and
Digger. Just back in
thanks
this game,
for
right, Dennis?
yep, they are indeed, and thanks for clearing up who goes where by referring to the current PFL rulebook. So it is the league first and second place that go to the Champions League too. And
Yes.
the winner of the final game in the postseason will be going to the AFF Shopee Cup. And of course, these are, well, they're not quite outright because these are subject to the federation's nomination of these teams. So it's the right to be nominated.
So of course there's the work done at the back, paperwork, you name it, all part of the game. The plenty of hardworking people behind the scenes when you refer to the clubs and and the federation, of course, the PFF.
Yes,
And
and of course
we
we'd
did
like
get
to
to
take this
clarify.
opportunity
Yeah, go ahead, Dennis.
to sorry, we'd like to take this opportunity as the league is coming to an end to thank all the hardworking men and women at the PFF, at the PFF's competitions committee. Of course, kasama na dyan, the ones we see more often are Miss Ira Ilan, Robin Kainglet, si Mr. Baldo, si Mr. Ganaban, and all the officials. Of course, Miss Christy Ramos, who we enjoy working with very much, and we learn so much from her every time she is matchcom for any game.
With her experience, of course, Ma'am Christie. And of course, it goes with the entire crew that you just mentioned. But going back, so we can confirm Eric Esso was sent off, but it was not a straight red. It was two yellow cards. Let's recall he got one earlier.
For his first challenge on the near
Yes,
sideline, and both of which in my non-binding opinion, Clara, were rather light contact. And the first one was really his first challenge in the game.
you did say. So it was a second yellow that got sent him off, not a straight red. But in the challenge of Eric Esso, I saw him go or track out from miles back. Or let's just say a few meters, just to be more objective. As there is a free kick from a dangerous area for the defending champs who are gunning for a three-peat. Let's recall again, if this ends 1-all, we will go to the last match day. But it will get a little more complicated. But if that happens, Digger have a shot at winning this also and denying the three-peat of Kaya. We are saying that or saying things in this perspective kasi lamang ang Kaya FC sa table natin as compared to Manila Digger. 40 points for Kaya, Manila Digger with 39, and that is why Kaya are playing with a bit of an advantage in the end season.
So on the fly, they're going to go to 41 and 40. Is that
Yes,
correct? They're going to go to 41 and 40 of with opponents of different levels, but it can be argued both opponents are of the same level because recently Stallion is higher ranked, but their last matchup with Loyola saw Loyola come away with the win. Is that correct, Claro?
versus Stallion, it was a draw as there is the denial
Oh,
from Mike
okay.
Asong. Yes, Loyola did draw Stallion Laguna. Is that what you were saying, Dennis?
Yes,
Relative.
Loyola did draw Stallion Laguna. So both teams on the field evenly matched as of the last reckoning. Yes, Stallion is much ahead, contending for fourth place. Um, but Loyola's not going to go away. So, wow, it's going to be a fantastic last day of the second round as Kaya still keeps the pressure on But here is Kevin Mbene Mokata with a chance for the counter, but the ball craftily picked off his dribble by Shuto Komaki.
Jarvis, the clearance. It will ping pong around. There was the clip from Noy, and Barfo is also down. It's also down on the ground, and it will go once more the way of Iloilo.
Well, Filonco knew what he was doing. Barfo had momentum there to turn and get inside the box. So Barfo opting to make contact and stop the momentum inwards. But against the numbers, against the player numbers, Kaya has been the one the past 2-3 minutes keeping the pressure on Manila Digger.
Noy Felonco, the man who committed the foul, spent about 8 years with Kaya. He did so before going to Digger to play in the Philippines once more. He did play for Bavarians FC in Mongolia. He said that was quite an experience. As Shuto got to drive this. I'm not so sure if wind was a factor there. Jan Meliza sent it forward again. Ori versus Noy.
Well, I'm sure spending months in Mongolia is quite the experience. I had I had the opportunity to go to Mongolia for a short while to visit a mine site. Um, and there's not much there. I mean the descriptions of the steppes that you see in the books. I mean the lands that Genghis Khan rode his army over.
Yes.
It's vast and featureless. So wow,
It is what it is. Let's put
it
it
is what
that
it
way.
is. But I'm trying to recall who, but he is not the only player who has played in Mongolia. I'm trying to remember who
A
it was, but
Filipino
there's
player.
another. Yes, there's been another Filipino player who's played in Mongolia.
It's on my mind too, actually. But you have Philip Anderson of Loyola, who is an international for that country. Yes. He plays for
Philip,
Loyola.
sorry, you're saying Philip Anderson's nationality is Mongolian?
Yes, yes. So, but he is actually an international for Mongolia.
Well, if you're to believe the books, Claro, all of us are partly Mongolian, right? All of us are supposed to have some DNA from Genghis Khan's army or something like that.
I, I believe there's also the Middle East with the Garden of Eden. You name it, whatever people want to call it, right? I'm being
Well,
generic here because we all have different understandings of how things
but
started out.
our history books say that Genghis Khan's army roamed far and wide, um, getting all the way to Europe.
We will definitely have an unbeatable national team if you could look at the heritage from him.
Well, yeah. Oh, let's not go there, right? I mean, we've been seeing pictures of the Dutch. I'm sorry, the Indonesian national team, um, or the Dutch team B, depending on
Oh,
you know.
we've heard that also from some people criticizing ASEAN football as a whole, right? As it's physical
Well, it's.
here, Jarvis and Noy.
I mean, well, Noy is fully Filipino, and Jordan Jarvis, we know his mother is Filipino. Um, but let's not open that can of worms right now.
Yes. We're just That's just us talking about the Filipinos earlier who have overseas experience playing around in different countries. Jordan Jarvis is one of them. He did play in Ateneo also in the UAAP.
Yes, he played a few years, not his full 4 or 5 years as many do. Um, I think Jordan, prior to the Philippines, was based in Hong Kong.
Yes. And actually, speaking of Jordan Jarvis, when Eastern came over to play Kaya in the group stage of the ACL2, as we do see Dylan De Broeker enter the game for Elias Ugu. When you put in a guy like Dylan De Broeker, you are going to get offense as we've witnessed this season. No, by going back and Jordan Jarvis. They'd also go through the academy ranks of Eastern. Hence, he knew players who played in that ACL2 game versus Kaya in Rizal
Very
Memorial.
dangerous cross there coming in for Manila Digger, which Kaya has repelled that attack. But as we can see, it's a lone Barfo challenging the back three of Manila Digger off an attempted corner.
Dylan gave it to Nishoka, who was driving traffic. You gotta talk about the confidence there. Audie Menzi just chested that
You know,
to his
I,
goalkeeper.
I held my breath. I held my breath at that moment as Audi Menzi chested that to Freddy Cortez. But I'm sure, at least I hope there was some signaling or communication going on between the two.
The looping throw in from John Melisa Marwin. It came off of him though. We did see in Freddie's first games as Kaya's goalkeeper after replacing Walid Biru, they'd have a number of these situations where they'd headed back to him. That showed their confidence, of course, in one another. It took some time for Freddie to get clean sheets with Kaya, but he got them right before or in the build-up to this game. But both defenses will be going home unhappy, that's for sure, because they've conceded, but it's just about grabbing the win now. As we've mentioned, a Kaya win will allow them to seal their title and make it a three-peat. If Digger get a draw or win, it will go to the next match day. As Ziggy Taninko took a hit, rolled over. Jan Melisa pleading his case. Our referee, Clifford Daipuya, not happy with that.
Well, John Melisa's argument is just he simply turned on Ziggy Taninko. Um, this call is not gonna change, but both players have an argument to make.
And let's recall Kaya, or let's just mention again for the benefit of those who just tuned in, Kaya FC are down to 10 men. And that is after Eric Esso picked up his second yellow. According to the referee, those two challenges from him were a little harsh, overly physical. As here's the header that was off target. Earlier, yes, Esso did pick up two yellows in the first half. And that is how we find ourselves now. That goal of Ernest Barfo was cancelled out by Usman Guy.
Eric Esso
Chances
has
left
been a
go
very
Kaya.
influential player when he's in the middle for Kaya. And the thing we've seen he needs to work on is he needs to develop a little restraint. He's a very fiery, very passionate player who gets to be, who seems to be a little over eager to get stuck in.
So we were saying earlier, look at your chance of let's go Kaya. Let's see if the Digger traveling contingent can get into this game also when it comes to energy. As it will go once more to the Diggers. Juve continued it at the back. A winner draw again for Digger will send our championship race to the last match day. A Kaya win will seal the title for them. That will be despite of us having one more weekend of games. It will take place next week. Ori Menzi got his pocket picked by Ben Mukata. How often do you say that? Also an unsuccessful Kaishu tackle. Now this is something that you see. Rota denying that ball into the danger area. But what an effort. What a display from
Well,
Kevin Eben Mukata.
the thing about Kevin's game is that I would describe it as swashbuckling. You know, he's a player who likes his adventures down his side, never hesitating to take on the opponent, or at times even one, two, three opponents at any given time.
Here's Nishoka, the outswinger. And Gavin Wentz with the clearance. First touch of the game. He did enter for Marwin Angeles. And Wentz would just take advantage of opportunities given to him by Kaya. He just has that ability to man the midfield, as was the case when he was with Wantagig on loan in the 2024 half of this season.
Well, the other player, one player who actually had a national team call up. I'm not sure if it was just for a camp or a friendlies, but has not featured much for Kaya lately is Mark Swainston.
He did get called up to the national team too, as Nishoka was denied by Cortez. Nishoka again, often or as of late, a provider for Manila Digger in the offense. But he wanted to join the party because they need this badly. The win, of course, will help them much more as opposed to a draw. We refer to their championship hopes. Here comes Kevin once more. What a flick! Couldn't connect with Seiko as it was read by the keeper,
Oh,
Cortez.
Kevin with the Rabona to loft it into an attacking Cisse.
Executing a Rabona is a big deal, as we
It
know.
is, it is, and he in that instance he pulled it off 100%. The ball got to where he wanted it to go.
I thought for a moment that he was just gonna dribble to the left side since there was space.
I know. And the thing with Kevin, he does have a left foot. We sometimes see a Rabona pulled off by players who are very one-footed. But thank you, Kevin, for showing an example of what I mean by swashbuckling and adventurous.
Talking about ambidextrous players, right? Good with both feet. JB Berlongan, as we know, and as the community has acknowledged. The ball forward now. How will this attack go for 10-man Kaya FC?
That's gonna be a corner. Even if Ziggy fell down, wasn't much from Jan Melissa. So Jan's going to set up this outswinger.
The support from the home crowd, understandably. Melissa looks on. He's been in a similar situation already. Here comes the ball in. Wentz. But it was stopped by Seiko, who is back to support. That's why he's making a run for it. And is unleashing himself. Space to operate. There's a chance to switch. That's what they go for. Ebene Mokata. Kevin. I believe that Freddy Cortez got a touch to that from what I initially saw.
It looks to have gone straight on to the outside of the corner of the post, of the frame. But Cisse was arguing that he should have received a return pass from Kevin Mbene Mokata. I don't know if there was time or space on that because Kevin was on goal. Beautiful touch to bring that ball down. Fair attempt to at least hit the upright.
And just like that, we are 21 minutes into the second half already. The beginning just went by of the second half just went by so quickly. 22 minutes now to be precise, and I'm saying that because of the action we've gotten out of the dugout. There's that sense of urgency. The first 15 minutes is always essential to start the second half. But no team with absolute control of this.
Well, it's a great showing of the ebbs and flows of football, Claro. The first few minutes, I would argue the first 10 minutes of this half, saw Kaya pressuring Manila Digger to the point of having several attempts on goal, calling Mike Asong into action. But since then, it's shifted. Manila Digger now threatening on several attacks. Freddy Cortez.
Pelonco. Offside is the call here.
On Cisse, not on Kevin.
There is assistant coach Boss Basley of Digger He seemed frustrated on their side, of course, with the way they executed, but he just gave a little bit of the tap to the linesman to acknowledge it was on them.
Well,
He could just
Basley
feel and
actually
see the tension.
quite a pleasant fellow when you get to chat with him.
Yes, I will agree. They're very hands-on assistant coach. Coach Kim Versales is the head of Manila Digger, but coach or assistant coach Bastiu, very hands-on in the area. It's on with the skipper Dean Dylan. They're throwing everything or bringing out all the cards that they have available. We say cards available again because Manila Digger are without Modo Mane, who is serving his suspension. While for Kaya FC, Jovin Bedik and Konate Bandiogu are deemed as ineligible for today, also serving suspensions. So accumulating yellow cards could be a reason for suspension also, not just getting a red in a contest. Ziggy Taninko, so far so good for him. Got to cut it back. Guy, was that too much dribbling?
No, a guy came
But there
came
is
from
the call.
offside in that instance. But nervy moments for Kaya. Scrambling to get back and really just lucky that Cisse and the ball was passed to Cisse who had come from an offside position.
But it's Kaya though escaping by the skin of their teeth, nonetheless. 1-1 again is the scoreline. Ernest Barfo's goal was cancelled out by the effort of Usman Guy. That was spectacular. Not just the technique, but even with, you could say, the title on the line. It's Freddy Cortez to take this. Noy Filonco getting traffic their way. But it seems Kaya's personnel are starting to feel the effects from having to play a man down. We do have a full slate of games also tomorrow for your PFL action. Here comes Guy, who ran out of space.
Yes, do
Games
take us
tomorrow.
through
Yes.
tomorrow's games.
So we do have Cebu and Stallion squaring off. And that will be at
6
Cebu
p.m.
again, where it's hard to get a result there, Dennis, when you refer to all the traveling teams. But for some reason, Stallion have just been able to get results there. And with the
Well,
rest of the
they
calendar,
they have,
yes,
and I'm sure in no small part due to the support of boss Philbert Alqueros, who is Cebuano. And there is a Gilligan's over there, so I'm sure the Stallion team is well fed and well settled.
the
And
Mr.
they did get the win on Wednesday, and that will give them a lot of confidence. And aside from the fact that they're settled in Cebu over the past few days, I'm sorry.
But speaking of games that will take place in Luzon, it will be in Binyan, Laguna. The youth national team and Loyola will square off at 3 p.m. And then there will be the Taguig Derby between One Taguig and Maharlika at 5:45. That will be massive for One Taguig's bid to make it to the final series. And then we will end the day with Davao Aguilas UMAC FC playing Minjola. That's at 8:30 p.m. So with final
Yes, I think
series hopes again with One Taguig just trying
I think
to
that
solidify the role.
that Maharlika versus One Taguig game is going to be a cracker, because a little bird told me Maharlika has a few new players featuring tomorrow.
Very interesting. And when we talk about head coaches, we see Coach Yu is very reserved. Now, first, there's Shuto Komaki getting stopped. Kaishu got to try the needle at first. Gavin Muenz
So
couldn't
what you were gonna
stabilize
say
the
is
ship.
Coach Yu is very reserved, and Coach uh, Dong Yu or Coach James is not as reserved as Coach Yu Ishida.
Oh, I could hear him from the grandstand. As here is a fall, not enough to convince Clifford Daipuyat, of course, from what we saw ourselves. Kaishu Yamazaki doing what he can as he's still on the ground.
Well, Coach
And
Jung Dong Yu, of course, a shall we say a mentee of the very famous Master Kim
Master
of
Kim.
FEU, and Master Kim is not reserved at all.
I did want to say, Dennis, where he takes after Master Kim also. Obviously, Coach James isn't happy when they lose, but when they win, he's still not happy. That's what I
Well,
will say.
well.
If
So
we
that's
talk
going to be the
about
second match. That's going to be the second match tomorrow. But the first match between Loyola and the Philippine youth national team is also going to be very exciting. The youth national team playing a very attractive brand of football, and again, as we mentioned earlier in this broadcast, rejuvenated and reinforced with the UAAP standouts who have been added to their lineup.
Dini Barley whipped that one in, as they only got to hit the side of the net. Still
Manila
quite a ball
Digger
from Dini Barley.
Manila Digger, two things. One, whether it's a Barley or Taninko delivering those balls, they are quality. And then they have those tall trees attacking that 6 yard box. Cisse, Guy, Mane, who's out now. So over the season, they actually have been very deadly on these corners.
Hence, Ziggy Tanico and Dini Barley do have a hefty amount of assists, as we've acknowledged. Play resumed once more. 28 minutes done and dusted in the second 45. Nishoka, the high ball, still with the diggers. Benemukata is trying to
Good
split the
vision
defense
there.
here.
Very good vision by Mbene Mokata to spot that run coming from deep left.
Speaking of the trees of Manila Digger, Dennis, someone on the bench and would oftentimes start is Dylan Wambatafem. He's on the bench here for Coach Kim.
Well, another tall player, very athletic player.
We have subs waiting in the wings. Two local players in Pocholo Bugas and Marco Casambre.
So Pocholo Bugas, a player of very very good quality. What's been notable is that since he transferred to Kaya on loan from his Cambodian club, and in Cambodia he did pick up an injury. So the minutes he's played in every game have been purposely limited. But regardless of that, he's a game changer. Make no mistake about it. Pocholo Bugas is that game changer type of player.
And when he gets himself, of course, into peak performance, he will get called up to the national team. He was in that ASEAN Mitsubishi Electric squad of the national team. So we
Mm.
are just awaiting the player who will step off for Marco Casambre.
Well, Marco
The-
Casambre typically a center back or an outside back, and here we see Menzi. It looks like Menzi,
That's Audi, yes.
Number
Odi
40
Menzi coming off.
out
So
to be replaced
it
by
might be a like for like sort of at the left back position.
33 minutes already done in this second half.
And now
It's Digger.
in 2025, it seems that Marco Casambre has been playing professional football in the Philippines forever. But don't forget, he's only 27 years old.
He started early, yes, while studying in the university. He was already playing with Global FC back in the day, just to name a few.
He started at a very young age. I think he might have been 15 or 16 when he started playing professionally.
And yes, when he was that age, he already made his debut for what is the Ascals then as Ziggy forced a save. And Casambre sent it over to the side. That would have been a banger if Digger got to connect, but it's still Kaya holding on. A win, of course, will help Digger's title campaign further because they will get into the driver's seat. If it's a draw, it will be all to play for and still complicated, of course. Well, that's all part of the game.
Well, a draw or a win, they're still all to play for. I mean, both teams, they still have to get a result on the last day. Because
Yes.
if Digger goes on to win this game, then they lead Kaya by 2 points. Um, and well, it's come next Sunday, April 12th. Sorry, come next weekend, April 12th. It's going to be very interesting.
As the strike was not good for Seiku. He is absolutely frustrated, not just because of his struggles today, but because he's been on a drought. And there is no clear cut formula to just break these scoring droughts or slumps, right, Dennis? As we know.
Well,
Keep shooting, I'd like to think.
my current headache, Claro, is coming up with the scenarios for next Sunday. I mean, just fast forward, think as if we're on that day already, and this result stands, and Kaya still remains 1 point over Digger. Digger is going to be the second game of that three-game lineup. What happens? I mean, Digger has to win. Digger has to win and be confident that their goal difference is enough.
As Ziggy clears this, and then Mokata kept it in, but Casambre got it. Ocholo Bugas. Will it be an instant impact? They need that. On both sides, without a doubt, have shown character. They survey. They'll play it long. Offside, as we evidently saw.
Well, this season, reflecting on the season that was, has been a very different and hugely improved from the previous season we had. We had 15 teams last season, and there were more than a few blowouts. But this season, whether it's a first place team playing against a number 8 or a number 9 team, it's not been a sure result.
Dikit yung laban, as they say.
Lahat 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 ng laban dikit. Kung meron mang laban na hindi dikit, let's call it as we see it. It's been the Menjola games which have tended to be blowouts or not as competitive. But every other team, up to the Philippine youth national team, the result has never been assured.
All part of the growth of Philippine football. As Cholo took a fall, and that is why it will be a free kick for Kaya in the midfield.
Well,
And
it's
as
he's
you,
holding his knee,
yes,
and it is worrisome because that's the reason he came on loan is to recover from a knee injury.
Cholo will just try to shake it off. But we know Buga's brothers are built tough. And with us talking
Both,
about,
both, both, both brothers are built tough, but I will tell you that Pocholo physically is the tougher looking one. Um, Paolo, on the other hand, I'm not saying he's not tough, but he's not as thickly built as Pocholo.
Paolo will get you with his technical ability in particular. Si Bene Mukata, he's cut back too much power. That's how much power the guy's got. And I mean that in a good way.
He doesn't know his own strength, huh? But Paulo Bugas has been a player that has amazed from a very young age. I remember, Claro, the first time I saw him, I was sneaking a smoke on the side of the Zobel pitch together with Coach Hans Smith. And Pocholo Bugas was running down the near sideline. There was a long,
Oh,
high
Eric Ben.
cross coming from deep in FEU Juniors territory. Pocholo Bugas didn't break momentum, just kept sprinting, and his head and his eyes were tracking the ball. As the ball came, it was slightly behind him, but he still didn't break stride, and he brought the ball down with his heel. And
Oof,
both of us, if you know Coach Hans, we uttered some expletives, and we were like, "Who the
I
hell
could
was that?"
picture that.
You can imagine the two Filipino words. The second one is
Number 20
the second one is mother,
Barlim Major
right?
Dean to be
So
replaced by
that's how amazed we were with
King.
this boy.
And no surprise because of that. But Cholo Bugas is in the pro ranks and would also play overseas, as we know. As we
Yes,
got to hear from our stadium announcer, Dine Barrio subbed off. He's often one of those 90-minute players for Coach Kim and Bass.
so Dean Ibarle, who was playing in the left back position, and you're right, he is a 90-minute player. He doesn't come out for nothing. He's not the sort of player you sub out for time management. Also,
But a win again here, of course, will help Digger's case further, as opposed to this ending in a draw. If this ends as a draw again, we will go to the last match day to determine the champion in the league. It's all down to number one Kaya and number two Manila Digger. Jan Meliza.
oh
Asong
my
couldn't
God,
get it.
flapping at that ball.
So Jarvis was there though to secure the vicinity of the ball as Mike Asong recovered. Ziggy to Ebene Mukata. Tanika to Chase versus Rota. Simone sent it to the wrong man though. Here's the cross off the head of Casambre.
Barfo turned his opponent, got him on his back. Now
Clever
feeding
ball.
Pocholo Bugas. Hip check.
The game has opened up and has come back and forth for obvious reasons. As it's offside against Digger. Is this the finish you imagine today, Dennis, for this game? It's been a nail biter regardless.
It it deserves all this and more, Claro. I mean, what is at stake? It's very clear. Championship is at stake today. So, but again, if the result stands that last day, wow! I look forward to being there in the Binyan football stadium.
We are 3 minutes away from the 90th minute before we get stoppage time here at the Iloilo Sports Complex. It's KFC gunning for the three-peat again in yellow and white. Manila Digger in red and black. This is highly likely the title decider again, despite of this being the second to the last match weekend. After this game, Kaya and Digger will go their separate ways to play their respective fixtures. If this ends 1-all, Kaya will continue to hold a 1 point lead over Digger in the table, 41 to 40. This could spell, or this could possibly spell the difference also between who will play in the group stage of the ACL2 and who will head to the qualifying playoff. Because oftentimes, then, if you lose the qualifying playoff, you get demoted to the lower league or the lower tier league, which is now the AFC Challenge League, which is still competitive in its own right.
Well, every regional competition for a Philippine team is good football. I mean, we're by far not yet there to claim as a place in the Champions League elite, where the Cristiano Ronaldos and then formerly Neymar and all these other big name players to play. I mean, the Middle Eastern teams do dominate that. The Japanese teams are and the Korean teams are very competitive. But let's look at where they are ranked in the world. These are World Cup nations with clubs playing at a very high level.
Iloilo.
Our
Number
men's team
13,
is very is
Mendoza.
still very far from that, but slowly but surely we're getting there. I mean, the recent Mitsubishi Electric Cup results, where a number of PFL players also featured, is very encouraging. What's really left for us, for media, for coverage such as ours, or for the organizers of the league, or for the fans and communities around the teams as well, is to sustain this momentum and always keep building and building on it.
It's in the danger areas. Play was resumed. Casambre sent it out.
Well,
Kaya keen
Cassandra
on settling
taking
for a draw, worst case.
well, Cassandra wasn't taking any chances with Kevin Mbene Mokata. He knows how dangerous he is, and he knows that if it was a shoulder to shoulder sprint, Kevin would beat him every day and twice on Sundays.
But Ziggy's shot seemed to lack power as it was secured by Cortez. Cheers from the crowd. We are expecting another sub for Manila Digger. Still, we thought it was in play for a moment, but it was out as confirmed by our linesman. Coach Bass, animated in his technical area. And they are subbing off Bene Mokata, it seems, or is there confusion? The play is resumed nonetheless.
Number 7, Flores, Jim Ashley.
Ashley Flores replaced Bene Mokata. He has seen limited action in this tournament. We can remember last season's Manila Digger mainly relied on their homegrown players.
Well, if a coach is reacting like that because of a sub, it only means that that wasn't the sub he wanted to make.
It seems Boss Bass was having a chat with maybe Boss Schwasha who was in the grandstand. The sub was made as
Ooh,
this ball bounced in front too. Very close, but not quite.
Barfo headed it across. Martini Ray would have done better to attack that post. Even if Barfo was going to go for a goal, Martini Ray should still be attacking that post.
Cleared off. Taninko was going through the middle. Flores. Yamazaki the slide. You don't see those often from him. Saito shielding it along with Arboleda who checked in.
So at this point of the game, we see Taninko taking a more central position, and it's a tactic that we see a lot of outside backs employ, and that their coach incorporate into their plans, where an outside back takes the position of a defensive mid so that they can load numbers up top. And that's an indication that Manila Digger at this point still wants the win.
Their lives will definitely get easier in the title race if Digger seal the win. Because a draw, Dennis, will somewhat favor Kaya. Because
Well,
in theory, if both teams draw in the weekend, in the next weekend, Kaya will be the champions because of
it
this
it
precarious 1 point lead they have.
it gives Kaya more scenarios to come out as champion. That's for sure. Because a draw, like you said, a draw today, and if both teams draw again on Sunday, then then Kaya comes out on top. If this remains a draw and Diggers win on Sunday, Kaya is, well, Kaya still has to win. Well, yeah, if Kaya wins against Talion, even if Digger wins against Loyola, then Kaya still remains champion.
Yes.
Sorry to all the folks out there who might be watching this, because all the scenarios are getting confusing.
As you said, it's part of the game. It also adds that spice. Sometimes too much, if you get what I'm saying. But
Well, anything to take us to the last day on the schedule with everything to play for is a good thing, no matter how confusing it is, Clara.
but we hope that we've been able to just help the fans grasp the picture, even just a little bit. But let's
Ganito na lang.
remember, yes,
Basta draw ngayon, ano man mangyari ngayon, nandun ho tayong lahat sa susunod na weekend para abangan kung ano nga ba ang kalalabasan ng ating 2024-2025 Philippines Football League.
there appeared to be a hit to the face.
Saito given a yellow card for a foot to a face. Is that Diouf? Yes.
Yes. And they need him, of course, as we know. Asong just checking up on his center back. But if Kaya just somehow sneak in a goal, they will bag the title with one game day to spare, as we mentioned. We're geared up for the finish.
Are we in extra time already?
Yes,
Not
3 minutes
yet.
in. 3 minutes in out of the 6.
Okay. Because there's been so much action at the goal mouths, Claro, that I have not had a chance to glance towards the middle of the pitch.
But the time continues to tick here. There's a look at Daniel Ashley. Asong sends it long. Bugas getting through and poked away by Velonco thanks to his veteran wits.
When Bukas came on, he was more central and a little to the right, but this left side, I believe, is where he is more potent.
It's ping ponging around uncertainty. Muens could not secure. It was off of Taninko. Pelonco. The early cross, which was low. Flores shoots. Lacking
That
power again.
lacking power, but that was potentially dangerous because it went through two sets of legs. So Freddie could have been unsighted for that one.
Or potentially, maybe even a deflection, and that's a nightmare for goalkeepers, as we know. We have a little over a minute remaining in additional time, but we may expect more time at the discretion of our referee, given that we had stoppages. And it's
Ooh.
desperately off. It's a corner kick. Rota got the job done there.
And he is feeling the work he's doing in those 42-year-old legs of his. Is that correct, Lara? 42?
Let me double check that. But regardless, we know he's the ageless veteran of Kaya. Flores to chase. Will he be that super sub for them? The throw in. Ziggy. Daniel Ashley. It came off a defender. Muens trying to get it for Kaya desperately. Cleared off by Casambre.
Ooh, ooh.
Close guess, Dennis. 40 years of age for Rota. Diagonal ball splitting the D. And Kaishu. He has been contained in this game, also because it's been difficult for him,
No,
given that they were
Yamazaki
down
has
to
not
10 men.
featured much. He hasn't featured much in this game, not as much as we're used to seeing. He
He appears to be shaken up already.
Well, at this point of the season, Claro, everybody is playing hurt to some degree. That has to be offside, and it is.
Flag was
No,
raised already.
linesman, no. That they're gonna have to be careful here. They have to be very, very careful here and show some restraint.
Coach Bass is in the field. And let's remember, Dennis, from our vantage point, we saw the flag raised already. Hence, we saw it was going to be offside.
Yes. We saw that Cisse was offside and we saw that flag come up. In not
Abner,
raising the in not raising the flag, actually the linesman was giving the player a chance to maybe sit down or go down and show himself as not part of the play. So this at this point,
it's emotions.
again, everything to play for in the last game. So we don't know yet. We haven't checked yet. Apart from potentially a red card in this game, it could also be an accumulation of yellow cards that might keep some players from the last game.
Because what we saw, Dennis, could warrant yellow cards. Hence, you're raising all of these factors.
Oh yes, oh yes. I mean, anytime you charge against a linesman like that, you crowd around him. That's not going to sit well with the referees.
Both teams, of course, pushing their respective sides.
Yes, assistant coach Bas Liu going into the field. That's also going to warrant a sanction of some sort.
And in the midst of everything, you could see Abner Dos Santos signaling VAR. That's been a classic we've seen from in the game of football, kahit walang VAR.
You know, VAR, as we see it in the more popular leagues, it's not there in every professional league there is. And
Not
the
all.
value of VAR is very much debated, Claro. Some leagues like it, and some leagues, even the English league, there are moves to take it out, that it ruins the flow of the game.
We've heard of that, of course. Very debatable until now.
Because
You
there's
could
al-
hear
there's
it.
also there's also an element that just living with the calls that are made. It's a life lesson that the game of football teaches. So
And
of
I'd like
course
to
all
think,
this.
Dennis,
Yeah,
with it's
go
also
ahead.
part of fair play, which is something preached in the spirit of football. But do we have the final decision here? Seems referee Clifford Daipuyat is heading to the center without any signal.
Well, I do hope that all that discussion is leading to some decisions at some point, which they are discussing with the fourth official.
No goal there, confirmed. A yellow
Yellow card
given by referee
past
Clifford
due.
Daipuyat. And in games like these, Dennis, players have to control their emotions, and this may hurt Manila Digger in this aspect.
It 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 does. It definitely does because we saw it in our broadcast from the vantage point of our camera. We saw it in the replay. If maybe Direct Eman can play that sequence, he was offside. He was in a far advanced
It
position.
is.
Thank you, Direct Eman.
Flag was
No,
raised already.
but we
Linesman,
need to
no.
go that we need to go
Digger
further
it
back than
is.
that.
Flag was
No,
raised already.
It is.
Flag was raised already.
Linesman, no.
Yes.
That
Thank you, Direct Eman. What we would need to go to back is from the pass that led to the offside. But let's go back to live action now.
Definitely well over the stoppage time for understandable reasons. And as it stands, the title race will go on to the last day between these two clubs. Akito Saito not happy, but it seems
So,
we have the full-time whistle already.
so not a lot of time added for that lengthy discussion. I don't know which team. Well, clearly, Digger frustrated that not much time was added after a lengthy deliberation by the officials. But whistle blown, nothing separating these two teams. Testament to their quality. But there we have it, Claro. Everything to play for on the absolute last match day.
Extracurricular action, Dennis.
And this could still go in the referee's book. So players have to be careful. And I do hope that they show restraint because we don't want to see anybody kept out of the penultimate matches of the season.
I believe there is Jordan Jarvis also had to get pacified a bit, but there's still something going on. If he could just pan a bit to the right. Well, we've said again here, emotions. Well, it's about managing emotions when we refer to the two teams. This could make or break their campaign. There's Modu Juve, I believe, being pacified. Dylan Wan Batafim there too, along with Chanmar Barcenilia. And Coach Kim has had to be pacifier once more, Dennis.
Yes. So very intense action that our mobile camera is getting in the middle of at this moment as the players walk off the pitch. We see the we see the Kaya manager having hands on Dean's Dean Ebarles' throat, but that is very playful, having played together at some point.
There's Boschwasha also. Sir Ariel was pacifier too, as we
Yes.
saw. Monica Gador also, team manager of Digger.
Monica Gador, I think, among the people working in the PFL, can hold her breath the longest, having free diving as her pastime. But at this point, with the
Interesting
whistle
sport.
having blown, players would be best advised to move on and get their minds on what is coming up this week and next weekend.
Because as we've said again, this is not the last day. There's
No,
still
not by
the final
far.
match day. And
So
heads, of
we,
course. Our cool heads prevailed
there,
already once more here.
yes, there we see Boss Ariel Cervantes, the very hardworking Ariel Cervantes. Well, it's both teams have to fly back to Manila now to prepare for the next week. It's a bit anticlimactic that we didn't come to a conclusion. Basliu there, still smiling, still as amicable as we know him.
I just want to mention this. Yes. There's something happening. There's someone on the ground, Dennis.
No,
No, not the case there.
it is
It's this guy taking off his laces, his boots.
goings on in the stands from how people are looking. But take us out of this broadcast, Claro.
It ends 1-1. And pretty much how we entered the halftime break, Ernest Barfo again gave or pushed Kaya close to sealing the title. He made it 1-0 with the opener, but Usman guy leveled things to make it 1-all with a stunner of a goal and hit the top corner. But thanks to this draw, it's all to play for again in the last match day. Everyone, of course, will be observing that one. But we'll sign off from what has been an electric game despite of this being a draw. Alongside Dennis Lucindo, this was Claro Manzano, your commentator. It ends again 1-0 between our two title contenders. But we will see you next week as the title race will go on. But don't you forget, we still have more PFL action that will take place tomorrow at the Binyan Football Stadium and over at the Dynamic Herb Sports Complex. But
And
it's
before we
goodbye
go,
for
Claro,
now. Yes.
I'd like to thank our Iloilo crew, Direct Eman, Direct June. Um, many thanks for the work you've done in the past 3 games in Iloilo. Thank you also to the Kaya team, not just the players, but the managers and the support crew of Kaya who've provided us infrastructure support in Iloilo.
But there you go. It's goodbye for now, but we'll see you next game day. might get called up to the national team too, as Nishoka was denied by Cortez.
And Kevin would beat him every day and twice on Sunday.
But Zeke Nishoka again, often or as of late, a provider for Manila Digger in the offense. But he wanted to join the party because they